Hello everyone, I am Professor Nayan Asne, Department of Information Technology, Parvatibai Ganbamose College of Engineering, Wangoli, Pune. So in the last session, yesterday we have seen just the introduction of your Unit 5, that is your design principles and the patterns. In today's session, we'll see the different points of the GRASP, that is which stands for General Responsibility Assignment Software Pattern. So there are different patterns under the GRASP. We'll see that the definitions and what actually it means. So we'll just go through what GRASP is. So it is the guideline in assigning the responsibility to collaborating objects. Collaborating objects means the objects which take place in your software designing and which takes place in your collaboration and communication from view layer, from UI layer to your business layer, and from business layer to your database layer, as we have seen this in the 4th unit. So there are different patterns under the GRASP. The first one is the creator, second is the information expert, third is the low coupling, fourth is the controller, fifth is the high collision, sixth is indirection, seven is polymorphism, protected variation, and pure fabrication. So we can say the rules or the patterns of the GRASP. So we'll start one by one. We have seen in the last lecture these principles, so we just move forward with it. Just the definition of the responsibility is nothing but the responsibility which is taken by the single object or the responsibility which is taken by the collaborative object, that means the group of the objects. We have seen this in the last session, so we'll directly move to the creator. So the first rule or the first thing in the GRASP is the creator. So who creates the object is the creator. The thing which creates the object is the creator. Or who should create a new instance, that should be known to the designing. Who is creating the object and who is supposed to create the object. Suppose the container creates, suppose there is a class container. So the container creates the object content. Okay, we'll see this by the example, which decides who can be creator based upon the object association and the interaction. So suppose there is an example of the creator. Consider a video store and a video in a particular store. Suppose there is a store, in that a video store is there, one section, and video is in the video store. So the video store has an aggregation association with the video, that is video store is the container which store the different type of videos, and video is one of the content object in that video store. So we can say that we can initiate the video object in video store class. Video store is a container which has the different videos in it, different types of videos in it, and video is one of the content object, one of the object which is inside the video store. So video can be initiated from the video store class. So video store is now the creator of the object video. Second one is this is the example. By video store we have aggregation with the video. So video is created by the video store. So creator is the video store. So next is the expert. We can also say that the information expert. So if there is a given object O which has the responsibility which is assigned to O, so expert principle says assign those responsibility to the O for which O has been information to fulfill that responsibility. So who is the information expert? Who has some responsibility and who has the information to fulfill that responsibility is your information expert. So if there is a given object O, so O has certain type of responsibility, say XYZ is the responsibility of the O, so O should have all the information about XYZ. So that is your information expert. Then O is said to be a information expert. As we can take the example of the previous, that is a video store and video. So video store has all the information of that video and the different type of the video. So we can say that the video store is the information expert of the video. Okay. The thing should know all the information about the responsibility, that is called as the information expert. They have all the information needed to perform the operation, or in some cases they collaborate with other to fulfill their responsibilities. The object which is having certain responsibility then that object should have all the information related what operation is to be performed, what different information is required for that particular responsibility. Or if the object is not having that much type of information, then that object can collaborate with other object to fulfill the responsibility, to conduct the operations. So that is the information expert. As I have already explained, the video store is the information expert. Why? Because it has all the information, all the videos which are needed in that particular container. So it has all the information about the responsibility about that video. So video store is your information expert. Here is the same example, video store with all videos and video with the title. So video store has all the information about the particular video. Then there is the concept of low coupling. So how strongly low coupling, just give that how strongly the objects are connected to each others. So if the two objects are connected to each other, then there is certain case that if one object change, then other can be changed or other can be affected on the dependent object. If two objects are dependent on each others, then if one object change among that two objects, one object change with some certain responsibility, the other can also be affected. So low coupling is introduced, that how can we reduce the impact of the change on the dependent object. So we are what we are doing, we are separating the responsibility of the object. How to, the low coupling shows how to minimize the dependency for making the system maintainable, efficient and code reusable. So if we are making the low coupling, then we are reducing the dependency among the object. So suppose one change, then it should not be affect the another one. Okay? So that is the thing. We generally prefer the low coupling. We assign the responsibility so that coupling remains low. That is a low coupling. We can also say that low coupling at the same time is about separating unrelated part of the code, which is based upon some possible values, which is just different from each other. So we are separating that part. That is a low coupling. The next one is just the example of low coupling. There are two types of elements that are coupled. First one element is the first one which aggregate or composite association with the other element. So which type of elements are coupled, which have some aggregation or composition with the other element, or one element implements or extend the other element. So this type of elements, these two type of elements are coupled together. Okay, so we need to minimize the effect for making, if one is changing, so another cannot be changed, another should not be affected. So we need to maintain the low coupling among the different types of element. Which different types of element? These are the two elements which are low coupled. First, having aggregation composition relation with each other, or second type is might be one element is implementing or extending the other. So if one change, the other can change. And in low coupling, we are minimizing the impact of changing. We are minimizing the dependencies. Here is the one of the example. So next one is the controller. Okay. So it deals with how to delegate the request from the UI layer object to the domain layer object. When a request comes from the UI layer, as we have seen, there are three types of layer in software. We have seen in previous unit also. The first one is the UI layer, second is the business layer, and third is your data layer. So when the request comes from the UI layer, the view layer, we can say, the controller pattern helps us determining what is the first object that receives the message from the UI layer. So the controller will totally responsible for determining and identifying which first object receives the message from the view layer or UI layer, where the user is interacting with the system. The object is called controller object, which receives the request from the UI layer, and then that controls and coordinate the object with the domain layer, or we can say the middle layer, to fulfill the request. So this all work is done by the controller for identifying the object which interact with the domain layer or the domain layer object, or identify the object which receives the request, the first object which receives the request from your view layer. So identify that type of object, then identify the coordinates and controls the object of your domain layer to fulfill whatever request comes from the view layer. So that request must be fulfilled and that request must be responded to the view layer. So this work is done by the controller. So we make an object as a controller if we can make an object as a controller if the object represent the overall system, that is a facet controller. If the object is representing the overall system, that means your facet controller. And second, the object represent a use case and handling the sequence of the operation, that means all the sequence of operation that is performed by particular application is known to that controller. Then and only that object can be made as a controller. So what are the benefits of making the object controller? So we can reuse this controller class multiple times. We can use and maintain the state of the use cases, and we can control the sequence of the activities. This is the example of your controller. So controller is the first object which receives the request from the UI layer, or we can say view layer, and then he decides which object from the domain layer should be given that request to fulfill and respond to the view layer. Next is the bloated controller. This is again a type of we can say a controller, or the controller class can be said as a bloated if he is having too much responsibility. Bloated means full, overflow. So when the controller class is overloaded with the responsibility, we can say as the bloated class. That means one or more controllers. The solution is to give one or more controllers to the application. So controller class may also perform the different tasks instead of delegating to the other classes. So we have just the solution to delegate, minimize the other things to the controller and just give the access and responsibility of viewing and identifying the objects of the view class of the business class, and we can say the business domain, to identify which object interact with the first layer and which object should be given for responding to the view layer. So we can minimize the delegates. And also the second solution is we can add more controllers to the system, so the overload of that particular controller may be divided into different. So in this session we have seen 3 to 4 rules and the types of your JRASP. The further part will be conducted in the next session. So I hope these things are understood. If not, you can comment me in comment box, or you can ask me in a Zoom session. Thank you.